qualities to be able to play in the academy environment, because again, you won't develop if that's not right for you at that moment in time. And that may come later for some individuals. It's well versed and well documented that each professional football club can pick 11 players to start a game, and those numbers will never change.
After years and years of experience, but what does that initial step or two look like within the voluntary world? Because people do volunteer, but how do they set themselves apart, whether it's trying to aspire to become a coach or...
Hi guys, this is Barry from HYA Football, episode 5, and we are in new settings of a different environment. It's in fact HYA Football's headquarters in the iconic established non-league ground of Hendon Football Club and Edgware and Kingsbury Football Club as well. We've got today a really special guest on our episode. Got a wealth of knowledge within the professional academies of football, extends over a 15-year career, personal friend of mine from childhood days. Jordan McCann, welcome on the episode. How are we?
Brilliant, thanks Barry, yeah, delighted to be here.
Brilliant. So, just so we get a little bit of context and understanding of the background of yourself, for the viewers, can you give us just a little snapshot of what you do or what you've done in the past, and kind of your steps into your professional career?
Sure, yeah, I'll try my best. So, at the minute, I'm at Arsenal. My title is the lead coach for the full-time training model, so I look after players from around 14 years of age up to 16, 17 who are on the full-time training programme, where we look after both their football development and their education, so a big holistic programme. Been at Arsenal for 6 months, so since Christmas. 3 other football clubs prior to that in the last 16 years now. Most recently before that was head of coaching at Blackburn Rovers in the north of England, which was a fantastic football club. Really nice role and great experience for me. Academy manager at Lincoln City for a similar period of time, 3.5, 4 seasons. So out in the east of the country, lovely part of the world, and some really good learning for me there. And then the biggest almost longest spell at a football club was on the coaching staff at Luton Town for 10, 11 seasons. So that's been my journey to today.
Wow, so a vast range of locations within the country of football, but also a wealth of knowledge where you're talking about education, football, the kind of full development of players. When it comes to looking at player development, especially in academies, what's been your summary so far? Like going from, like you said, the early foundations of Luton and then progressing into Lincoln and Blackburn Rovers and now at Arsenal, what does player development look like for you?
Yeah, of course, a massive question. I think it's evolved first and foremost as I've evolved and had a longer period of time in youth development. But fundamentally, Barry, at the minute, I think coaching development is about developing people first and foremost. That probably wasn't something that was on the top of my agenda 15, 16 years ago when I first started coaching. I thought it was about football and tactics and trying to get kids to be as good as they can be, which of course is still part of it. But fundamentally, development is about connecting. It's about connecting with people, understanding people, showing empathy for their situation, but really getting under the skin of who they are and what they want to do. And I think once you do that and you can build connections and solid relationships, you're then in a place where you can start to influence and start to develop. And of course, some of that involves technique and tactics and insight and all the things that make good football players. But fundamentally, it's about developing really good people, solid character, because that puts them in good stead for the game, in my opinion, but also for life. And we have to be cognizant it's a short career for the ones who do have a career, but also understand that many of them won't. So we have a duty in player development to make sure that we set them up for life as well.
Brilliant insights there, and I think every time I come to conversations around coaching, and whether it's people within the day-to-day of player development or parents, obviously with their children going through that pursuit of trying to get as high and aspirationally to the levels that their child's dreaming to, what's the reality towards those players that are coming into your system? What are they excited about? What are they nervous or apprehensive about? What is it kind of the journey? Because the journey's huge, right? How much information or support, or like you said, connection, can you offer them realistically in what you do or what the clubs that you've been involved with?
Yeah, I think in my current environment, the provision and the resource evidently is second to none at a club like Arsenal. A global football club with pretty much everything you could want as a coach, as a developer, or as a young player. So everyone is very, very well supported, as you would expect. I suppose that would vary through different clubs, depending on loads of factors. But fundamentally, I think we always have to ask ourselves a question of maximising everything that's free. I don't think we should be constrained by resource, and actually it doesn't really cost anything to connect and be in a really good position with a young person or a child who's trying to achieve something. So yeah, I think to go back to the first part of the question, we should never ever try and take away people's dreams. A lot of people come into the game with dreams, with aspirations, and it's incumbent on us not to take that away from them. But also there's an element of reality as well that's well versed and well documented, that each professional football club can pick 11 players to start a game, and those numbers will never change. So the numbers of children in academy football who will end up being on the team sheet on a Saturday in the Premier League or the Championship will always be a very, very small percentage, no matter what we do in youth development. So yeah, we have to be honest. We have to have sometimes tough conversations at the right time with parents, with children as they get older in an age-appropriate manner, but yeah, also make sure that we don't kill their dreams, because for some people, obviously, it will become a reality, and that's a really fulfilling part of the job as well.
You've made me think then, because you said at right timing or different stages of their development. So when it comes to conversations, connections, relationships being built, where do you see, when we break down the foundation and youth development, foundation being the primary school years, youth development being your secondary high school years, and then you've got your professional phase, which is your scholars and beyond. What are the types of tones of conversations or connections you're having at those different stages, or are they all just kind of blended as that's the one unique journey that you're going to pursue, and we're just going to feed you as much as you possibly can kind of take?
Yeah, I think at the moment I'm not having loads of impact in the foundation phase because of my role, but have done at various points in the journey. I love working in the foundation phase, and we have to be really clear that whether that's at Arsenal or at a grassroots club, these are children, they're 9-year-old children. So you have to talk and work with people in that way. It doesn't matter what environment you're in.
Have you got an example? Because I think that's really crucial, that we're clear of what does a tone of conversation look like for a 9-year-old versus the 17, 18, 19-year-old, because they should be different.
Of course, I think, look, when you're working with 8, 9, 10-year-olds, it's about fun, it's about enjoyment, it's about developing a love for the game in young players so that they want to continue playing football all the time. They run into the training ground bouncing, ready to get out and play football, and they leave with a massive smile on their face, no matter what environment they're in. They're not professionals. The only difference at a club, or like my current environment, is they get really nice pitches, they get a bit of nice food, but they're 8, 9, 10-year-old children. As you move into the youth development phase, again, things change. Boys become more socially aware, and I appreciate this may involve boys and girls for people who listen, but predominantly I'm working in the boys' game, and you have to navigate those years really, really carefully. You get a big difference in the youth development phase, physically, socially, psychologically, as boys get to 13, 14, 15 and hit adolescence. So I think it's a very individual approach. I've worked with boys from varying different backgrounds. different cultures, so you have to become aware of that when you're trying to engage with someone and make sure that there's a real individualised, tailored approach. And part of being a really good youth developer, in my opinion, is being able to connect with different people and be a really good listener to understanding what's going on in their world.
Yeah.
And then the last part of the journey actually becomes more serious, right? Once you're in the PDP and it's your job, and I use that term loosely, you're still trying to enjoy it, but you're getting paid and it becomes what you do for a living, then evidently it does become more serious. So I think the same principles apply. Make it individual, be really honest. Like, honesty and integrity is key. If you lose that as a coach or a developer, you're in trouble, in my opinion. And just make sure you give everyone you work with everything you can to help them be the best that they can, but in a really honest and transparent way.
There's so much good practice I'm hearing from yourself, and obviously it's from your wealth of experience and knowledge, and there must have been times in your journey like you're talking with so much conviction because you see it day in, day out. Has there been struggling moments? Was there any times of questions of either yourself and what you can provide to the environments that you're trying to instill within your clubs or by yourself personally? Or was there times where you've seen lots of success at the same time and you're like, I'm really dialed in and I'm getting good value from what my craft is looking?
Yeah, we're struggling for time here, Barry. First off, I think the reality of sport is a large part of it about failure. Most teams lose more games than they win. Even in a development environment, a lot of it is inherently negative or challenging. So of course, it's never all rosy, and there's been loads of moments personally, professionally, where things have been tough and things have been difficult. It's probably the same for anyone in any job or any environment. So a motto that I've kind of had in my head or developed over the years with a mentor is, don't let the 10% of madness affect your mood, because you will know probably more than I that youth football is politically heavy. You can never please everyone, because people generally look at their son in a group environment and have a laser focus and want more sometimes than you get, and that will never change. So I think not letting those moments that are tough or difficult affect your mood gives you some values that transcend those moments. And that's something that I've had to develop in positions of leadership or coaching over the years, and something that I'm still trying to develop and deal with every day, because I suppose as humans we don't naturally like conflict, or we don't naturally like being in a position where we feel threatened. So those things happen all the time. But then of course on the flip side of that, there's moments of real success and real joy at all parts of the journey. It's really easy, I think, to go to the end point of when a player makes a debut, or you see a young person you work with achieve something that they've been working for so long. Of course, that brings a natural high, and you can, take a moment there to reflect and enjoy the good bits. But that happens at all points in the journey, and probably at a point now where I think, knowing, like we spoke about at the start, how small the numbers are of boys who will have a career professionally at whatever level that may be, that the journey has to be transformational for the boys. Like, the journey has to be transformational for the boys, and we're sitting here together on the back of going through a similar journey as children, playing at the same club and going through the same experiences, and families and friends and connections, and that will transcend football and sport. So that's a really big part of it, and sometimes you don't recognise those successes at the time, but people have them further down the line.
Brilliantly put, by the way, because for people that don't know that, myself and Jordan have known each other from childhood days, played in the same grassroots club team, and we were very successful to an extent. I don't know, I didn't get much playing time at that time, but why was it, that's a key question I was going to say, why was it that foundation of your first introduction to football allowed you to then choose a career within it and serve so many people, that makes you still invigorated and purposeful towards your craft every day, every year, every so on?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I love everything about football. I love the game, I love the social side, competition, the physicality, and yeah, that's something that I wanted to continue even when I got to a point in my late teenage years, 20s, when you realise that playing at a level you want to play at isn't going to materialise for you. So I always wanted to stay involved and be involved in the game and help others. Probably looking back, Barry, had some people in my life, coaches who had a bigger impact on you than you realise at the time, and coaching allows you to do that. So yeah, I was really fortunate that I managed to go to Loughborough University, which was great for me, and there was people there who opened my eyes into what elite coaching looked like, not just in football but across Olympic sports and other sports. And then yeah, fell into a job through one of my old coaches who was working at Luton at the time. And yeah, sometimes opportunity and luck give you a good foundation and a good start. I'm very aware that yeah, that happened for me. I actually went in just to do like a bit of volunteering and a bit of coaching. Luton had just dropped out of the Football League in 2009 after the financial struggles they had, and sometimes when a club is going through struggles, it brings opportunities for young people because you get accelerated into things that maybe you're not ready for, and that was great. So yeah, love the game. I wanted to have an impact and help develop young people. I actually was thinking about being a PE teacher and going back, but yeah, things developed very, very quickly at Luton, and 16 and a half, 17 years, I don't know what it is now later, I'm still hanging on with a job coaching football. So yeah, I'm very
I wouldn't say hanging on. I think you're thriving from what I'm hearing, and the connections, as you've alluded to before, is so impactful. It gives lasting memories, right? It's how you make people feel, and even the way you're discussing your passion there. It's giving me goosebumps. I don't know if you see that, but I feel the energy that you provide. So I could only imagine then what you're like on the grass with the players that you work with, or in the classrooms or the change rooms, like with the kind of holistic development as well. It's just a burning passion of yours. When it came to the start, you said a key term there. You volunteered yourself in, and I guess a lot of people get the confusion of how do people get started, right? It's great seeing them at their finishing line or doing so many things successfully after years and years of experience, but what does that initial step or two look like within the voluntary world? Because people do volunteer, but how do they set themselves apart, whether it's trying to aspire to become a coach or trying to be that player being picked up by the next club?
Yeah, I'll take the coaching part first, if that's okay. I think if you want to develop a real craft in coaching, volunteering and working in as many different environments as possible will give you a really good foundation. There's so much to being an effective coach, from, of course, being really good at practice design and setting up sessions, but actually it's managing behaviour, it's connecting children in different ways. It's being able to explain things with clarity and purpose, not just being, quick and rushed. It's being able to work with boys at different levels within one group setting and challenging those who are striving, but really supporting those who are maybe struggling and need a little bit more time. Mm-hmm. So volunteering and getting out in grassroots football or whatever environment it is, I think is massive, because it just gives you experience that will take you wherever you want to go, and you can't shortcut that. I don't think you can just shortcut the learning that you'll take from doing that. So that would be my first offering to coaches or parents or whoever wants to get involved in youth sport. And I suppose from a playing perspective, it's pretty similar. My offering here would be, don't be in a rush. That children, boys, girls develop at different rates. It's not like now when you're 8 and 9, I have to be in the academy, I have to do this, get in there because that's seen to be the done thing. There's so many different pathways for people. For some boys it's right at 9, so the system starts at under 9 and boys are ready and it's the right place for them to be. For some people it's right at 16, for some people it's right at 21, 22. It's not the only way to have a career in the game. So if you love it and you try your best and you've got, you know, a strong work ethic and resilience, and you keep getting in that mindset of trying to get better and grafting away and pounding the rock every day, you'll find your level in the game, whether that's as a really young player or, you know, further down the line. So, you know, my bit as a player would be just being in an environment where you really enjoy it, you're really supported, and you're in a place where you're free to make error and take risks, because that's what development's about, and you'll have a chance to be as good as you can be at the end of it.
I look at that and go, maybe it was different when we were growing up, and obviously generations before that or years before that. And we could say at that point, resourcefully, there wasn't a lot of exposure of people going into grassroots to pick up. So it could be down to the luck. Would you say that's been eradicated now because there's so many people at grassroots level that can either fast track or connect people into the academy system? Like you said, they need to enjoy it, they need to develop, they need to make lots of mistakes and errors, and they could step into academy football at 16, 21 and still have a blossom career from that. But there's so much pressure on the whiz kids of 7, 8, 9, and I put this down to social media aspects here. Like, is there something that parents could be nurturing their child and saying, just slow down, if it happens, it happens, we can take our time, like, don't be in a rush?
Yeah, got a few parts to that. I think, first off, of course, the world has changed. Social media wasn't a thing 20, 25 years ago. So that, no doubt, has a bigger part to play in children's lives than it did when we were young, of course, because it wasn't there. And there's a lot of young children, 7, 8, 9, with, you know, accounts of Instagram or whatever it is, doing ball mastery and stuff like that, and that's not going to go away. So we have to embrace that. It's not going to change. I don't necessarily think it's a problem as long as it doesn't transcend safeguarding rules and all the usual stuff that we have to be really aware of with young children. The other part to that around getting in and the number of people in grassroots football and connecting people, of course, that has increased as well. I think the investment through the Premier League and through the EPPP has meant that scouting departments and recruitment departments are more well resourced than they ever have been.
Just quickly, what's EPPP for people not aware of that?
Yeah, so the
I know we could be here for a while, but
no, I'll try and be brief. So the EPPP is the Elite Player Performance Plan. That was the framework introduced by the Premier League in 2012-13 that governs the rules of youth development in this country. Prior to that, the system was a lot looser in terms of auditing and management. Now every football club who runs an academy in the Football League is audited by the Premier League every 3 years, and that can be around all the key stuff from coaching, recruitment, education, sports science and medicine. So everyone's working to stricter guidelines than they were pre-2012.
So like an Ofsted for football.
That's exactly what it is, yeah, absolutely. So that's fundamentally changed youth development in this country, which came in 12, 13 years ago now. And as part of that, recruitment departments are better resourced and more well structured. So, but there's still loads of things in recruitment and academies that need addressing. And again, we could be here for a long time, but if your son is born in the first quarter of the year, September to December, they're far more likely to be picked up younger by an academy, primarily as a consequence of they're just older than other kids in their year, and they probably move better, they've had more life experience. So we're slowly getting to a point where we understand that. You get the difference in adolescent growth spurts at 12, 13, 14. You would have seen loads of it. You can go and take an under 14 session. Some boys look like they're 17, some boys look like they're 10. That has a big impact in that part of the program. So talent identification and being in the system is often messy. Again, I think it's something as a nation we're improving at, but just on your own schedule, on your own time, don't rush, enjoy it, and the game will tell you your level when it matters.
Love it. There's so much to uncover, and like I said, we can't give it justice because we could be here for days and weeks upon end. I think it's just crucial that, from a parent's point of view, they are going into a mindful of football where so many, like you said, the football sport in general, it's just opinions, isn't it? All right? And we're looking at trying to regulate a lot of these opinions because they can be misleading. And when it comes to a parent who's not too sure about where to trust the resource of their time spent with their child's football development. What kind of advice would you say? Like you say, good environment, yeah, and it's fun and it's supportive. Give me some telltale signs of when it is or isn't those qualities.
Yeah, this question always challenges me. First off, okay, because I'm not a parent, so I don't have children. So when people ask about advice for parents, I'm acutely aware that I don't have kids first and foremost. Saying that, my offering around what a good environment looks like would be ask your child open questions at the end of training, rather than, I think the temptation is, as coaches, parents, to dive in when you're in the car on the way home and tell, and you get in that mode of things that went well or not so well based on a performance. But a good environment is based on, see how they feel, see what they think, ask good open questions. You'll get a good vibe for coaching on, are you happy as a parent that your child is being coached, not the way you'd like them to be coached, but almost as if the child is the coach's children, in terms of, is there a level of respect? Is the coaching fair and equitable for the boys who are in the group? Are they supported when things go wrong? That's a really big one. Like, children, adults make errors, we make errors, children make loads of errors, especially in sport. So the best environment support kids in those moments. They don't lambast or hammer them, because it takes away the essence of fun in sport. Certainly in grassroots football, Barry, I'm a massive advocate that game time should be shared. Like, if your child is in a team that wins all the time but gets brought on for 10 minutes at the end, I would argue that's not the best place for them to be.
That was my career.
Yes, I'd argue that's not the best place for them to be. So all of those things around, do they really enjoy it? Like, do they get treated really fairly in terms of the level of communication, the opportunities they get to play and explore and develop, are key indicators of what a child-centred, child-friendly environment looks like, and the antithesis for what a bad one looks like. Like, is the coach really like over the top, autocratic, lets the same kids play all the time because he's worried about winning at under 9s, under 10s? Then I think, some people might feel that's right for their child. Personally, I think there's better ways to develop a lot of skills through sport that you can lose when the environment is too much focused on winning or results at a young age.
So I'm looking at, I'll probably really focus on the foundation, even though that you're not currently actively working with them in your current position. But in that experience of foundation, and you said about playing time, equal time, to give them as much exposure, what's been your take with their positions? Like, we have in grassroots naturally great defenders or naturally great goal scorers. Is that where they're destined to play for all of their youth career into senior, or are we having a blended approach?
Yeah, tough one. I think I've seen over the last 16 years a combination of the two. So I've seen journeys of boys who have played as a central defender or a back half player from when they came into a club at 7 or 8, and I'm thinking mainly back to Luton now, because I stayed there for such a long period of time that I saw boys who started at 8, when I left they were 19, 18, 19, played as defenders the whole way through the journey and are now having really good careers as a centre half, and didn't move positions. So fixed young, stayed in the same position, and have done really well. And that was kind of against what I thought. I thought it was, we had to rotate everyone, but actually for them it worked. And then on the flip side of that, I've seen journeys where boys have played all over the pitch in all different positions and ended up somewhere that you would never have envisaged them playing. So I will use, and I know he won't mind me using this, so I'll go into names. I was really fortunate at Luton. I worked with a boy called Max Aarons. I'll use him because he's probably done well enough that most people will be aware of Max. Max played as a centre forward, centre midfielder, loads of different positions, and then ended up playing in the Premier League for Bournemouth as a right back. But played everywhere. Ended up last year at Valencia on loan. He's now just signed for Glasgow Rangers, but you would never have said that he was going to be a fullback when he was 11. He just was a really good technical footballer who played in loads of different areas. So yeah, a mix of the two. I've seen fixed and done really well. I've seen multiple positions and done really well. But then we also have to look at the ones who failed as well, and did we get that wrong?
Well, that's what I was going to ask the question on, because you're giving fuel to both sides of the argument, the variety debate versus, just let them stay fixed in one or two of the unit positions, whether it's defending, midfield or attacking. How do you know that individual that got stuck in the same position and excelled at senior football, that was right for them? Was there any time that they got moved and then it just didn't work, so then we just resort back to plan A and say, right, this is where your X factor is, we're just going to celebrate and nurture your gifts and talents in that one or two positions?
Yeah, I think back to a few individuals in my head, and I think probably one of the underlying factors is if they really enjoy and love doing something in the game, like defending and being getting on the ball, playing out, all the things that defenders have to do now, and they actually don't like playing left wing because it's not comfortable for them, then maybe the enjoyment factor helps them develop quicker. That's just something in my head. I don't think you ever know really, because you'll wait until further down the line to see what happens, but you can only make the best kind of decision you can in the moment. And again, that's back to communication with predominantly the parents if they're that young in the foundation phase. But yeah, if they don't really want to do it, I'm not sure they'll develop playing in loads of different positions if it's not something they enjoy. If it's something, I think boys see at the minute, like lads who play centre forward, right wing, and then love to throw themselves around in goal when they love it. It's like, yeah, let them do it. Why not? They're 10. Let's see what happens. So yeah, if they enjoy it and want to do it, maybe that's a bit of an indicator of they'll get better at doing it because they're in the right mindset to try and give things a go.
I had a situation where when I was coaching at Foundation, maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was this just naturally gifted goalkeeper. Fast track, I touched base with that team and his development. He, as a 16-year-old scholar, had no inclination of wanting to play goalkeeper, which stunned, because the recruitment of the club at the time were like, well, he's going to be our number one under 18s goalkeeper, and he wanted to play right back.
Yeah.
How does that work in terms of like the decision of the player? Does the club now have to conform and respect it and go out and recruit a new goalkeeper, or do they try and wangle their escapist goalkeeper to try and get back to what he's naturally good at?
Yeah, I think that's really difficult in that situation, because I mean it's very unique. First and foremost, we see I think more players going the other way, right? People who are playing outfield and then maybe they're really tall, or they have attributes and characteristics that lend them to being a good goalkeeper, and they go back, like Joe Hart as an example, when he went in at 14 or 15 or however old he was. I think in that situation, when it comes to your job, you'd expect there would be a level of dialogue before you get into that position. I think if you're offered a contract, a paid contract as a goalkeeper, and then you come in and say, well, actually I want to be a right back, there's probably got to be a bit of a discussion there with player and parent, because you're offering them a job to do a certain job that isn't the one that they're trying to get to. So by the time you get to that point, if it's serious and you're talking about scholarships and going full-time at a professional football club, then yeah, you probably have to address that at that point.
Perfect, okay. Looking at recruitment, the $1 million question, how does a player get signed into academies? What is like the criteria that parents, players are always searching and asking? What do scouts really look for all clubs?
Yeah, again, I think there'll be variation from club to club. Some clubs will have a kind of tighter network for recruitment based on resources. Some clubs far bigger. I think that we probably haven't strayed too far away from the old four-corner model with the FA around looking at players technically, tactically, physically and psychologically around those four areas. What characteristics and attributes do they demonstrate? So I think if I kind of link that into my environment now, it's, are you technically competent and proficient to play at that level?
What does that mean? So competent, proficient, what does that mean for the grassroots child? Do they have to be light years ahead of where their current level is because they're entering into a new territory of standard?
Yeah, I think in my current environment, Barry, in the Category 1 program, the level obviously is very, very high. The games program in the south, like ourselves, Chelsea, Tottenham, Crystal Palace, Fulham, the level is demanding. So in terms of competent and proficient technically, like you have to be able to receive, pass, dribble, turn, like you have to have really high level skills with the ball. Certainly we know in the foundation phase that ball mastery is, you can really groove that at those age groups. So yeah, you have to be really good at that, no doubt. Otherwise, the environment, training and games won't be right for you at that moment in time because it would just be too difficult and then it's not right for the child. So that would be my first offering. There is, you have to be an efficient mover. Of course, you have to be able to compete physically with the demands of the game. Now that will look very different at 9, 12, 16, 21. But even when you're very young, you have to have some athletic qualities to be able to play in the academy environment, because again, you won't develop if that's not right for you at that moment in time. And that may come later for some individuals. Game understanding is a difficult one because I don't think it's important in the foundation phase, but certainly further on down the line, you're hoping that boys show a high level of game insight in terms of decision making, and that's something that as coaches and developers we're of course trying to develop in boys all the time, both on the pitch and with analysis and all the tools that we have. And the last one, and probably underpinning all the rest, is like you have to have a real strong set of mental skills to navigate the academy environment. They are ultra challenging, ultra supportive. I think we're getting a bad press in the media at the minute, unfairly so in my opinion. There of course are isolated incidents that the game needs to do better on, but the level of provision and resource for players is getting better, and there's some unbelievable people working in the holistic development space. But yeah, you have to be resilient, you have to be gritty, you have to be competitive because it's not easy. So my bit would be, we're definitely looking for those things, but also as a parent be comfortable that it might not be the best environment for your child at that moment in time, like we spoke around earlier. And if it's not 9, maybe they're ready at 12, or they're ready at 14, or they're ready as an adult. There's plenty of players having a really good career who never touched the academy system, who came through late or university pathways. So I think that's changing. But yeah, fundamentally, we're not going too far away from that old four-corner model of technique, tactical understanding, physical literacy, and the player's kind of output and approach to football.
What's your take towards, with the four corners? Technical, tactical is down to the resource of the club or the players that are able to absorb that information or get, like I said, competent and proficient at their craft. Psychological, I agree, and looking at trying to build those skills that are transferable, because, like you said, small percentage make it, right? But if you're building resilience, right, or team ethic, morals, or problem-solving skills, I guess that's going to serve you later on in life if football doesn't equate to too much. When it comes to physical, is that just genetics? Is that the thing that is just going to be literally, we hope they're athletic, because if they're not going to be athletes and they're the most brilliant technician ever, have they still got a promising career because the game's getting faster, getting more physical, getting more aggressive? What's your take?
Yeah, that's a tough, again, another tough one. I think the data doesn't lie. So the very elite level of the games, players are running further at higher intensities year on year. So that is the demands of the game. That is the demands of the game. We can't shirk away from that. There are physical attributes that are required to play certain positions that, although sometimes we see this as a little bit like, a bit taboo, we don't really want to talk about it. Like, if you're my height, you're not going to be a Premier League goalkeeper. That's just the reality. Like, you're not. So everyone will have different genetics. I like the bucket analogy of everyone's given a certain size bucket, but how you fill it is the most important thing. So again, similar. If you're under 6 foot, you're going to find it difficult to play at centre half. I'm not saying you'll never play as a centre half, but unless heading goes out the game, there is a requirement that physically you have to have certain attributes to do that. Of course, there's other positions where you don't, and there's smaller technical players. We've just seen Harvey Elliott absolutely rip up the Euros playing wide. So yeah, look, there is in my head no doubt people have different genetic traits, but you can definitely work on them, and you can definitely become the very best athlete you can be through training in the right way. That is linked to the demands of your position. So yeah, there is variation would be my answer, but I don't think it precludes anyone really from being able to achieve their potential. But again, caveated on, you have to be really athletic now to play at the very highest level, because the game is so quick and so fast at that level that if you can't, it's really, really difficult.
So, looking at where you're currently at, what's your mission as you progress in this current role, or as you progress in your career in the academy game? What is the goal that you've laser focused on, that you're just working towards day in, day out? Or is there something you're just still trying to explore more and more within your own personal career?
Yeah, a bit of both. I'm ruthlessly ambitious. I've got I know that's in my psyche, and as we spoke around earlier, I took a job, Barry, as an academy manager at a very young age because of that ambition, and I thought, this was the right thing to do. And then as I've got older, I've changed. I haven't lost my ambition by any stretch, but I've valued enjoying what I do over titles or, being in a certain position or certain role. So that balance has been good for me. It's been good for me personally and professionally. I'm really, I'm under no illusion at the minute how fortunate I am to work at an unbelievable football club. One of the biggest clubs in the world, where we are developed, looked after. We have incredible people to learn off every day. And whilst I'm in that environment, I'm just trying to soak up every single part of it, because I'm trying to help players get better, but I'm also getting better quickly because there's world-leading experts in different fields there, and that's great for my learning and my development as well. So whilst I'm enjoying it and I'm learning every day, I'm really content. And then, it's like in football, sometimes things pop up that you don't expect, or something comes from left field, and you think actually that's the right opportunity or the right thing to do at that moment in time. So yeah, I'm certainly not trying to force anything, but I'm also, like I said, I'm ambitious, and if the right thing comes up that I think it's a good challenge I'd like to take on, then of course that's always something to consider. Yeah,
from day dot, I've kind of realised your ambition, especially when you went into, I think, your high school years and then into Loughborough and stuff like that, and I could only see more and more and more, because ambitious people are not satisfied. It's great to receive everything, but it's nice how you say the balance, because we are humans at the end of the day, and I think over the life experience you do reflect and pause to figure out what is going to be important in the next season and chapters of our lives. So I think I do agree with you with that. Looking at away from professional life, you're an avid runner, yeah? Tell me a little bit about lifestyle. What kind of things do you do away from your football day-to-days?
Yeah, that, I suppose, to dovetail on the back end of the question, around lifestyle, football can be consuming. Football can be consuming for players, parents, staff, coaches. So yeah, you have to have different things in your life. Otherwise that can be a bad place to be in. And over the years, I've definitely got that balance wrong. I've been consumed and wrapped up in far too much of the day-to-day of football. So yeah, we see each other in the gym. I try and get in there as much as I can, because as you get older, and when you still want to not necessarily join in, but join in little bits, and you're trying to coach and work with some really good players, you have to look after your body. I've got one ankle that works, one that doesn't. So trying to keep that as good as it can be is a priority, because
you're lucky. I don't have one leg that works.
So there's a personal bit to that area of trying to stay in good shape, look after my mental health, make sure that I'm challenging and pushing myself at something, which is, keeps me sharp, but also is a little bit related to the job, because there's a physical element to coaching as well. That, as you get into the back end of your 30s, it becomes harder than when you were 20. So looking after my body is really, really important. And then personally, now I'm back home. I've been away for 7 years in different parts of the country, just making time for people, for my family, for my friends, and all the people who I'm not disconnected with, but the nature of the job when you move away is you lose contact with people, because you're always on the road, you're 7 days a week, you're living in Lancashire or Lincolnshire or wherever you've been, and that's a toll that, it's a tough one to take sometimes. So it's nice to be back in North London and seeing my family more and seeing friends more and catching up with people. So that's taken up a lot of my time at the minute, and it's helped me find a greater sense of balance in my life than I've had when I've been on the road, for sure.
From what I'm hearing here, and I echo everything you say, it's like the balance. We could be in the balance, out of balance at times, but being able to have times and seasons of our life that we're going to pursue something and then realise, right, cool, we can pivot and move on to something else, is just human being nature of evolution. That we chose plan A, and even if it did materialise, we may pivot and go into plan B and plan C. And when I say these things, it's like talking to that aspirational player who's only got plan A, disregards plan B, C, D, and what have you. And I see it potentially with the people around them, supporting them, and I'm like, we need that quality of balance, just normalise things, even if they are the best things in sliced bread, right? If they just get treated in a different persona, then they realise that they have got a different identity to themselves. And I just wanted to know your take towards that when you're seeing maybe that superstar in the youth systems. How do you normalise just what's going to be destined for them, or like you said, it's that identity shift amongst people?
Sure. I think this is really complex and hard to navigate and find the balance, because invariably there are some players in my current environment who, when they are 16, 17, 18, you can see that they're going to have a career. Like that's evident. There's two boys who everyone will know under 18 at the football club who were playing in the Champions League last year. Life-changing sums of money, of course you are. That's, everybody knows that. But it's going to end at some point, whether that's 25, 28, 30, 32. If you're Ronaldo and he's still going, fair play. But it's going to end at some point. And we've seen loads over the years of retiring athletes really struggle. Maybe not financially, but in other ways, whether that be gambling, alcohol, drugs. So the money isn't a safeguard for you, whether you have a career or not. So I like the premise around dual career, because when you finish at 32, 33, the most common age, you've got to do something else for the next 40 years. So have a different identity, understand what you enjoy outside of sport or inside of sport, whether that's coaching, physiotherapy, whatever it may be, but develop that. Because football will finish. So there's loads of, not necessarily young players anymore, but players who I'm still in contact with who are playing professionally, who I know now are doing online degrees or picking up education through the PFA, so that when the day comes when their legs don't allow them to play at the level they want to anymore, they're ready, and they've got something else in their life that's going to keep them occupied and be the next challenge for them. Because back to human nature, we need that. We need to be striving for things all the time. And the minute that football finishes, if you're just sitting in your house thinking, what do I do now? I think that's a really dangerous place to be. So for anyone who's playing at any level, don't let it be your sole identity. I think that's a really dangerous place to be.
Listen, loads. I'd love the conversations. Is there anything we haven't touched upon that people need to maybe discover a little bit more about who you are, what you believe, or where you're coming from, in terms of maybe now or in your future self, like what is it that you're trying to pursue in the next 5-10 years, or even 12 months, should we say?
Yeah, I suppose again to split that into two, my offering would be, like players, coaching and player development is a journey, and my learning barrier has been to embrace the good, bad and indifferent, and much like many young players, I am consciously just trying to get better every day, because we have to be the best versions of ourselves to help players get better. So I don't think the coaching journey is vastly different to the playing journey in terms of be out your comfort zone, enjoy what you do, and try and keep getting better. And the second part is, I don't ever take lightly the privileged position that I'm in to try and be able to affect and impact and influence some of the young players that I work with. So it's incumbent on me in the short term just to try and be as good as I can be every day for them, because the reality, and this is where there's a bit of discrepancy between coaching and playing, is most likely I'll get another job if something goes wrong in my current environment. And I don't mean that in a crass or an arrogant way, just that probably is the reality of the industry. Some of the young boys I work with who are 15, 16, 17, they get one chance. They get one chance at being a scholar, to be the best they can be. So every day I feel the weight of, don't get it wrong from them, be there for them, make sure that everything is done to the absolute best level that I can offer them, because they ultimately trust you to help them get to where they want to get to, which is, at the current level I'm working at, not normal. You have to be world class to get where they want to get to, so they need the very best, and that's what I'm trying to focus on at the moment.
Outstanding. Really good. I've learned so much in this chat. I think it's a breath of fresh air when I'm hearing someone within thick in the academy system have the burning desire and the passion that every moment, every day that you're pursuing is to give your best version of yourself. Not just to inherently hold it on to keep it of a selfish nature, but so that you can pour into so many other people, players, parents, staff, family, friends. And I just feel when I hear people like yourself, it becomes so infectious that I had multiple goosebumps when you're giving me those trigger terms that I'm like, resonates with that. You're talking about my values, my cause, my beliefs. So I just want to say thank you, because it's nice when I hear in a different environment of football, there's such brilliant practices and compassion and empathy towards just wanting the environment to be as good as it can be. Because we are, I believe, like in terms of the professional game or the grassroots game, the world is envious of what we do, but it's because we just deeply love the passion towards the game, which you've alluded to multiple times. So thank you again for your time, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure. I agree, Jack.
Cheers.